Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to a new severance theory discussion, and we have a lot to get into here. Who wants to have an egg party with an egg bar as we talk all about eggs?
Yeah, there is a lot to talk about when it comes to fertility, eggs, little cure babies that's going on at the beginning of the credits. I mean, what is actually going on? We've seen that Cobell has been working with Lumon since she was a child. We've seen Miss Huang now going off to this empathy center where it's just like she is also a child. There is a lot that is circling around them possibly making more Lumen children, Kier children, to be able to continue on Kier's legacy? Are they manipulating DNA? Everybody's got the Kier juice.
Yeah.
Something is going on here. So we want to talk today about the fertility of it all, of the eggs that's been going on throughout both of these seasons. We have seen egg bars. We saw, Helena eating an egg. There's so much going on with this, with Gemma, with the fertility clinic. Are they trying to just take over the world with Lumen babies?
Given the current price of eggs, this is the most expensive video that we have ever discussed on Severance. But no, this is a really fun discussion. Also, I get to talk about Svalbard. For those of you who do not know, I am a gigantic geography nerd. I go on these like weird research projects. The moment they mentioned Svalbard on this past episode, I was just like, I gotta cook on this at some point. I gotta talk about this because I think it's linked to everything going on with eggs, with fertility in a way that is hugely important for establishing what Lumen is actually trying to do.
Yeah, because the thing about Lumen is what we really know about them is that, they're in the medical field and the, health services field, but that's not really what this is about. And we also know that they are severing people to sort of have these like happy compliant people that will be working for the company. That's not exactly what it's about either. It feels like it's really about taking over the world, having everybody part of Kier and everybody drinking the juice.
All right, before we go any further on all of this, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we have so much more Severance content coming up here. I know season 2 finale is coming very, very soon. In addition to Severance, of course, we are in the midst of The White Lotus, Yellow Jackets. The Last of Us season 2 is premiering very, very soon, and we're going to have a lot of fun stuff about that. And thank you to everyone who has subscribed. We recently got to 70,000 subscribers, which we are thrilled and incredibly grateful about. So we really appreciate all your support.
And also, if you want to support us further, you can join our Patreon. Over there, we are covering exclusively The Pit, which is airing on Max. And coming up is Bosch Legacy. It's in its final season. We're going to be covering that with weekly reviews over there as well. And it is the only place that you can get those reviews. So thank you so much to everyone who has joined. It really helps us here at the channel to continue to bring you videos.
Thank you guys so much. We really, really appreciate that. Now, let's just start with the broadest sense of things imaginable here, because what does Lumen really want? You mentioned taking over the world, and that's a huge part of it. And to them, at least my tinfoil hat is that I think that taking over the world for Lumen means a couple of different things. It is, one, having the most control over profits possible, because that's what every big company wants. And we know this from life, and I think Severance is sort of this big metaphor on life, obviously, that they're going to do whatever they can to make sure people are miserable for the sake of their own profits, but it's also about control. If you can control the entire ecosystem, you're really minimizing the sort of costs you're having to put out there. You're making more money, but then it's also, they want this philosophical belief system. That's why there are so many people who might have the Kier DNA, the Kier juice put into them as a part of their various experiments, because if you follow the beliefs of Kier, you can say, sure, this is a spiritual awakening for people, but I think the reality is just the beliefs of Kier are designed to make sure employees are compliant and willing to do whatever they need to do. So I think it's a means to the end of, oh, we're going to make even more money now.
Yeah, it's about money for sure. It's about control for sure.
Now, okay, Svalbard. This is exciting. Okay. I'm gonna bring it all back around to eggs. Don't worry, everybody, but this is going to be a little bit of a journey. So we saw on this past episode, Miss Wong be told, and you mentioned this, that she is going to be tasked with joining an empathy center in Svalbard.
Yes.
First and foremost, if you're wondering where this is and I'm going to try to say this properly, this is an archipelago. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, It is
Nice.
north of Norway. This is one of the most northernmost communities in the entire world. I am extremely fascinated by like extreme points of geography and how people live. I've watched way too many YouTube videos about this over the years. The first thing that's really interesting about Svalbard, just from the sake of what we know on a surface level, is that why is there an empathy center in a place that only has a few thousand people living there? It either tells me, number one, this is a straight up lie, which we know Lumon more than capable of doing. They've already, lied to any Mark about how long he was gone earlier this season. The other idea here is that this is some weird, I don't know, post-apocalyptic wasteland where in the world of Severance, there's like millions of people living in Svalbard, but I really doubt that that's necessarily the case.
Yeah.
Okay, now here's what's most interesting to me about Svalbard when it comes to, okay, what's really going on here? So if you do a little bit of research about this place, it's extremely cold in the winter times, it's sunlight all the time. Like all of that is well and good, but the number one thing that's notable about this place is that they have what's called the Svalbard Global Seed Vault there. It's basically put into the side of a mountain, kind of sort of like Paradise on Hulu, but kind of sort of not. You enter from the outside. There's like video tours and things you can go on it. But what's really interesting about this place is it's basically one of the best resources of the entire globe for just seeds, seed genes, ways to sort of repopulate the entire agriculture of the world in the event of a climate disaster, in the event of some other disaster. It is a global cooperation in a lot of places. There's countless different seed species, plants, everything is stored within these little frozen boxes within this ecosystem that they've put up there. Now, where this all connects to Lumon and eggs and everything else that we're saying here, you could sort of put on another tinfoil hat and say, okay, in the world of Severance, does Lumon control this seed vault? And is this empathy center a cover for that? Because they're planning to effectively end the world, and then they're going to have control of these seeds. Seeds is sort of a metaphor for eggs in that sort of way. It's a foundation for something more. But it's just, if they control the agricultural supply of the world, do they then control the world if all the rest of the agriculture of the world falls apart? Or you could make the case that this has already happened and Lumon has control of everything agriculturally in the world, because we don't really know that much of Severance beyond like the little bubble that they show us.
It's not a coincidence that that is where she was sent.
Yeah.
And that is what that area is known for. So it already feels to me, if I had to guess, that Lumon is already in control of this. They're very well maybe a center there, but it might be they're putting in more Lumon people, Miss Huang, to be able to go there, to be able to be in charge of these seeds so that they are able to help repopulate the world with their agriculture, with everything, because it does feel like they're going to be kind of, spoiler alert for people who haven't seen Fallout. Okay.
Yeah.
That Lumon is going to be responsible or behind this idea of like, everybody who's not with us is against us, and we're going to find a way to just wipe everybody out.
Yeah.
We're going to keep our people who are severed. We're going to keep our people that we're doing these other tests on, like what's going on with Cold Harbor. There's going to be more than just Gemma that this is going to happen to. We've got Miss Huang, and then we also had Cobell that were part of this Wintertide Fellowship as children. But I think that Miss Huang is a Lumon baby, that she has, since she was born with Cure DNA through the company, through, their own sort of eggs and fertility. We saw that Gemma was at a fertility clinic with Mark, and who was there? A Lumon doctor. So it's not a coincidence that then Gemma was brought in to go through this process. Now, yes, there's lots and lots and lots of people out there that think that Miss Huang is Gemma and Mark's child.
Yeah,
I personally don't. I don't think that that's where they're going
I
with
don't
it.
either.
I think that Miss Huang is someone who was born through the Lumen program, but not through Gemma.
No, I think that she is born through the Lumen program, mostly because, once again, what Lumen is striving for at this point is obviously control of how people think, control of how they spend the money, but also control of how efficient their own company is. And what is more efficient than basically having employees from birth? We already
Right.
have seen clues, especially with Cobell and her episode, polarizing as that may be, that she started at Lumen at a very, very young age. So
Yes.
I think if you are some of these terrible Lumen executives, Jamie Egan, like whoever else, you're probably like, okay, how can I find a way to get people under my umbrella even before that? And I think that's what Miss Wong may represent, because she is so young and she is in such a important position leading these people on the severed floor. It can't be for just coincidence. Like, these are
Yeah.
really important people doing work there. They have to trust Miss Wong, and I think the only way they trust Miss Wong is if she has been there from birth and she has been sort of implanted with these various traits of Kier, who they've all kind of figured out through all their various research projects over time.
Yeah, here's the thing. Okay, so with Severance, they usually like to have clues in their credits. And
Yes.
we do have this, part of the credits where Mark is kind of in his bed and there's a whole bunch of baby Kiers crawling all over the place. Even sort
Yeah.
of like right at the end where he's sitting at the edge of his bed and there's like a little baby Kier that's like crawling by his feet.
Yeah.
They're very purposeful because I think that that is where they are going. They are growing a bunch of baby Kiers. So children, babies to children who have Kier's DNA, that they are going to be able to just be born and raised to follow Kier so that they can just continue to grow their group of people so that they can eventually take over everything.
Yeah, and how they've managed to do this, and I think this is the other part of Severance that's really important here, is that they're sort of plotting this whole world domination tour without almost anyone knowing it, because if people are severed, obviously their outies aren't going to know about it.
Right.
They found a way to sort of have covers for everything, whether it be an empathy center in Svalbard, whether it be these code names for all these files. And we've heard already that, this is a global operation.
Yes.
Like, one little random thing I did some research on, was it's been bothering me for a while, is in the Gemma episode, she walks by, there's a room named Cairns, which is in Australia. And I was like, why is there a room in Australia when there's all these other American references? There is a lot of research centers and things like that in Cairns. And I'm sort of like, okay, then is that just where they have another center? So this is just like a global brand where they have all these places that they can do research on ideas like fertility, on ideas like training, how people behave, how we can get people on board. I think what we're seeing this season is a real foundation to, okay, here's all these various Lumen tentacles that are out there, and we already have, without people knowing it, a plan so that we can bring in future generations. We're going to bring in everyone who believes fully in the Lumen / Kier cause. And then there's not going to be anyone to stop us. There's not going to be any oversight. We're just going to continue to make more and more and more money. And I just don't think it's ever going to be enough, because I think the powers that be are going to be trained so heavily to just believe in the practices of Kier that they're probably either not going to believe what they're doing is wrong, or they're just going to be so enamored by all the money that they're just not going to think about it.
Okay, let's get into the eggs of it all,
Yeah.
because last season, when it was like, oh, we have a waffle reward, we have a melon party, and then they were like, we have an egg bar. And at first I was just
Yeah.
like, an egg bar? That's very strange that is what they have chosen to bring into everybody. But
Yeah.
now that we're getting into this season, I'm like, okay, well, it's not. And the Easter eggs that go around
Yeah.
eggs and the theories of eggs and fertility, I mean, it's really been more prevalent this season. Yeah, we had the egg bar. Of course, we had Gemma at the fertility clinic. We had Helena, Helly eating this egg, Jamie even being like, oh, I would prefer that you would eat these raw. Like there's something very strange going on with eggs in general with this, and mixed with the credits, it just feels very. And then Miss Huang is in here and
Yeah.
everyone's just like, why are you so young? Oh well, this is when I was born. And we know that Cobell has been working with Lumen since she was a child, and now we're this many years later. It just makes sense that this is what is happening with Miss Huang. She is a Lumen baby. She has Kier DNA in her, and this is what the experiment is about. And now she, at this young age, is someone they can fully trust because she is completely Kier, and they're able to put her in charge of, or at this center where the world seed population is, to be able to then start again. Like it's such a huge thing. There's also the theories that have been going around all season here that we were going to see Mark get Helly pregnant.
Yeah.
And we know that he has slept with both versions of Helena at this point as well. So is it possible that that is what is going to happen? And now we're going to be in this position.
I think it's definitely possible. Like I've been resistant here and there to that theory over time, just because it felt at first to me, it felt a little bit too obvious. But now we're sort of in this spot where the egg thing in this past episode is really what's sort of throwing me for a loop and making me feel more and more like, okay, maybe they are going in that direction, because it just feels like they need to find a way to make this more complicated moving into the next season. And even if Mark takes some sort of win in the finale, he's also got to take a step back or things get more complicated. And the idea of Helena being pregnant is a way in which to do that. I just have to say something about the egg bar for a moment. It sounds disgusting. I know, I'm right? Sorry. Like
we were even thinking about putting together an egg bar to just enjoy for the premiere.
Yeah.
And as I was like Googling eggs, and I could make some deviled eggs, or I could make some boiled eggs, or poached eggs. I was just like, this doesn't sound appetizing. No. Like, I just don't even want to do this. This is too much eggs.
I only like eggs when they are like just cooked. I can have scrambled fried eggs. I'm a little bit open to possibilities, but I don't want some lukewarm boiled egg just like served in front of me. I don't even like egg salad, so it's just that's not for me.
Okay, let's talk about the goats. I know it's we're like rolling this all back to the goats, where they were talking about the husbandry tank and what's going on there. What are they actually doing in there? And this might be part of the testing here on the severed floor, where they are testing DNA and DNA transfer.
Yeah, I think this is really a situation now where if you follow all the clues, we're getting back to just basically the origin of what Lumen is trying to work on right now, ironically, is origins. They're trying to kind of establish an origin from themselves of, okay, how do we create something or someone who is perfect for us so that we can control them from the time that they're born until the time that they die. They can be the most efficient for us to be able to maintain our bottom line and spread the teachings of Kier. Whether they really care about that or not is entirely up for debate. But the more they do this, the less people question them, and the more they're able to easily, just spread out their reach all over the globe. And the idea that they already have, some sort of place in Svalbard, regardless of whether or not you think that empathy center is real, that's a really remote spot, that shows me anyway that, okay, they're very much everywhere at this point, and they've already achieved a lot of their goals. And I think the reason they must view Cold Harbor as so important is that it is going to be kind of the final piece of connective tissue that really allows them to just effectively reboot people, so that it's a way that they can sort of do a version of what they're doing with Miss Huang, where they're starting from the beginning. Maybe they figured out a way to start from the beginning with people who are already alive and thriving or whatever else, and it's just another means for them to have their whole mustache swirling end.
I honestly thought that there was going to be a lot more citizen detectives out there that were diving into this place, because this place is only known for this one thing. And it's a really important one thing. So why would Lumen be there?
It's really, really true. And I mean, to me, that just sort of goes to show that, okay, they must just have an unprecedented amount of control and that we must
Yes.
already be in a situation where I'm not necessarily saying the quote unquote end of the world, has happened or not, but it just feels like the way in which that even Bert had to take so much precaution to send Irving wherever he is, unless he's just sending him to his death, which we talked about. But if he actually
Yeah.
is setting him free, that took so much work because Lumen is already everywhere and there's almost
Yes.
no recourse for it. I think moving into season 3, we kind of need to see a little bit more of what is outside of the Lumen sphere to really understand, like, okay, do they have control over everything? Are they able to basically run amok in a place like Svalbard, or is there still something more out there that's actually fighting against them?
Yeah, I mean, they have said that they're basically in every single country at this point
Yeah,
in multiple spots. So it feels like, I mean, even with Bert and what you were
yeah.
saying, it's like, okay, if you're gonna let Irving go, where does he go that Lumen doesn't have control? And I think right now, because we are only in this one center with
Yeah.
Lumen, it's hard to know how much control they really have. They've dropped enough hints that they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're in all these different countries and all these different places all over the world, but what are they doing in these different spots?
Hopefully we get some answers in the finale. I don't think we're going to get all the answers. Like, we have to be realistic here. I mean, it feels like there's going to be a whole lot more, but the picture will start to become a little bit clearer. But I
Yeah.
think this is a good time to turn this over to you guys as we ask, what do you think all the eggs represent in Severance? Do you think that there is significance to Svalbard, or am I just being a geography nerd and thinking a lot about a seed vault that may not matter as much to Lumen? But let us know in the comments, and also hit that subscribe button for more coverage, and you can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description below. Like Jess said, we are covering The Pit,
Mhm.
and also Bosch Legacy is coming very, very soon, entering its final season. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you here next time.